belt. One of them is that a belt with a twist on it will track the pulleys a little bit better. You actually get a little more wrap of the belt around the pulley. It will hang on slightly better. Another reason is to get the rotation correct. That's not as critical with a steam engine because the steam engine will turn in either direction. But a gas tractor or kerosene tractor only turns in one direction. So if we need to reverse the rotation for the machine, then we put a twist in the belt, or sometimes put a double twist in the belt. And a third reason that we do put a twist in the belt is windy conditions like we've been having today. The steam engine is actually going to be pulling that belt away from the brake. So the run of the belt that goes from the brake back to the engine is going to be very tight. And that actually will stretch the belt. Which means that the belt, as it runs from the engine back to the brake, will droop down. So you'll see the loose side of the belt droop down a little bit toward the ground. In a crosswind, we need to set it up so the tight side of the belt is on the downwind side, so it'll catch that loose portion of the belt. If we have the loose portion of the belt on the downwind side, the wind can take the belt right off the machine. So we have to start this process all over again. Everybody knows how Murphy works. The more people watching, the more difficult it is to belt up a piece of equipment. Happens every time. Yeah, everybody close your eyes so they can come in perfect. A couple of notes about the brake itself. What we're trying to do is we'll be using the pulley on the outside of the machine. Yeah, thank you. To spin the brake drum, which is in the middle of the machine. And around that brake drum, we have a band that has a series of wooden blocks attached to it. And we have a way to tighten those blocks around the brake band. And when you tighten the blocks around the band, they're going to want to try to spin with your brake drum. So we have a reaction arm on the end of that band. That's this part right here. This is keeping that whole brake band from spinning around. That's also pressing down on the table inside this scale. So that way we can tell how much force is necessary to keep that band from spinning around. And since we know from the center of the brake band to this point is 5 1/4 feet, we can take that 5 1/4 feet, multiply it by the number of pounds on the scale, and calculate the number of foot-pounds of torque that the engine is giving us on the brake. And the other number that we need to calculate horsepower is an expression of weight over distance over time. Our foot-pounds are the weight and the distance. And the time, the way we can figure the time is we have a tachometer on the drum, and we know the number of revolutions per minute that drum is turning.
Very mighty.
That was really nice. Tracking on the center on each end. That's a very good setup there. Yeah, go ahead. Okay. What Jonathan's doing here is adding some belt dressing to the belt. There are many different types of sticky fluid that you can use for belt dressing. One of them that is used sometimes is just plain molasses. That works very, very well. Steam cylinder oil also is tacky and has been used as a belt dressing. But to get back to the horsepower, we know the number of foot-pounds of torque. We read that from the scale and calculate, multiply by 5.5 to give us the number of foot-pounds of torque. No, probably not. That's only, what, 100 pounds? Or, 100 horse. No, I mean as tight as the belt is. 80 horse, 100 horse. We'll see. But to finish what I was saying about horsepower, the way that the brake is set up here, to simplify the mathematics, the way it was built, we are allowed to multiply our scale reading times the number of RPM, divide by 1,000. And that gives us the horsepower number that's known as brake horsepower. And that's as honest a measurement as we can give here. Now that they're lined up, they'll be able to get the engine prepped. The amount of horsepower that a steam engine can deliver is directly related to the boiler pressure. As the boilers, you can run this engine at a pressure of maybe 110 or 120 pounds per square inch of steam pressure, but you get a whole lot more energy out of it when you run at full boiler pressure, 200 pounds per square inch. That noise you hear, that just increased, that's called a blower. That's actually a steam pipe that is in the front end of the engine. It's blowing steam up the smokestack to create a vacuum in the smoke box and pull air through the fire to make the fire burn hot. That's like and the parts of the engine here, the rectangular portion of the engine is the firebox, but it's actually a sealed double wall chamber. The fire is contained inside, and in between the two walls of steel is the water. So a great amount of is absorbed from the fire. The fire is in the firebox, and it's surrounded by water. In the barrel portion of here, the round portion, there's a set of tubes that run from the firebox up to the smoke box here. And as the engine's running, you can see the smoke being pulled up to create a little bit of a vacuum in that smoke box. It pulls air through the fire burns hotter, and then as the steam is exhausted out the stack, you use more steam to make more draft, to make more fire, to make more steam, to make more draft. So up to a certain extent, the engine takes care of itself in forcing the fire to generate much more steam. The little fellow, I don't know how well you can see it, it looks like 3 balls spinning around. That's the governor of the engine. And that is actually belted to the crankshaft. As the engine speeds up, that will spin faster. And those balls are on springs, so centrifugal force will force them away from the center of the governor, which will push down on a valve stem. Boy, I apologize for my voice here. I don't know what's going on here. I thought I was older than that. Yeah, it must be. But as the governor spins faster, it pushes down on a valve stem to limit the amount of steam being fed to the engine proper. So when it reaches a preset point, the balls will come in a little bit and allow a little more steam, and that's how the engine is kept at a constant speed, a governed speed. So as we put a little more load on the engine, it slows down slightly. The balls will fall in slightly. It'll open up that steam valve so we can get more power out of the engine. So as things go, within the normal operation of the engine, you won't hear much change in the speed of engine, but you'll hear it get louder. And the louder the engine gets, that means there's more steam being fed to the engine and more steam exhaust that has to escape from the cylinder.
You don't mind, Pete, I'd just like to throw something out there. I know there's a lot of wives out there that think their husbands collect too many things and bring too many things in the house. How would you like to have one of those in your house? There's a longtime member here, Jim Bryden is his name. This is not his engine, but he has an engine like that, 110 case. He has a family room on his house that he opens the door up and puts the engine inside. Now, you better think twice before you complain about too many caps or books, or how would you like to dust 110? It's unique. I've been there many times. I think it's out and on the grounds here now, but you sit on the leather couch, look at the TV, look over your shoulder and see a 110 horse case steam engine sitting there. It's pretty impressive. But, oh, okay. He's ready to go, Pete. I'll let Pete do the talking if he wants while he's...
Alrighty. Who's going to be secretary? Alright. What we'll be doing here is we're going to add some water to the brake. We actually circulate water through the inside of the brake drum to keep it cool. And I'm going to take a little bit of a steam away here. Let's see, we're at 200 pounds on the scale. 249. So that is just less than 50 horsepower being demanded from the engine. And that's about 1,000 foot-pounds of torque. Wow. Okay, 49.8 horsepower right there. Okay, let's go up to 300 horse, or 300 pounds. 300 pounds on our scale, 243. So that's 72 horsepower, something like that. 72.9 horsepower. Yeah, that's up to 400 pounds on the scale. And what you're hearing is the engine is what we call punching a little bit, and I'm not sure if there's belt is slipping. Yeah, not sure if the belt is slipping or if the governor belt is slipping. 46. Okay. Well, looks like they're dealing with something up there. Right now we're keeping a 73 horsepower load on the engine. Our peak horsepower reading was 167.3, and there's, go for it, here we go, 775.
Wow.